Number 3 for you, Jerry.
Is Colossal, which we talked about when it came out with Anne Hathaway. And it's just a great take, deconstruction of like the monster movie, the giant monster movie, but as told as almost, you could almost say this is a precursor to the Me Too movement in many ways, because it's about relationships, and it's about abusive relationships, with her relationship with Jason Sudeikis in the movie. And you could say it's sort of a creative take on that, but it's also just like, also plays on a much more childlike level, like when we get angry and everything, and our anger, how it manifests itself. In this case, when Anne Hathaway blacks out, when she's drunk, she's a giant monster in Korea. She actually is somehow connected to this monster in Korea that's destroying everything. So her actions do have consequences, and it's just a very creative movie. But we've already talked about it, so I don't want to take up any time. But I really responded very well to it. And
I haven't been able to see
it.
it.
Yeah. I was less enthusiastic about it than you were, but yeah, I can't even articulate it exactly why now, but it didn't hit me quite as well. But I think you have a very, very deep connection to Jerry, to the monster movie genre.
It's a monster movie, but it's also very creative. I think it's also the key to the movie is Anne Hathaway, and it's a ballsy performance from her. It really is, and for her to take such a part like that is a risk, but I actually think it pays off handsomely for her.
Okay, number 3 for
number 3 for me is the Florida Project. So we've Dean, you talked about it so well. So I'll just add that it made me look that I know that area so well. It's 40 minutes away from me. I know that hotel. I know a motel rather. I know where it is. I know that street. So it's like somebody making a movie about your neighbors and you discovering this world that's familiar and yet brand new. I love a movie that feels totally lived in, and this movie is that to a T. And I loved being in that environment, even as challenging and difficult and dangerous at times as it was. I like the fact that they showed these characters. They don't pass judgment on these characters. They just show them as they are, flaws and all. It doesn't impose any judgment. I think a lot of people have problems with that kind of approach because we're in a society that really wants to do that to people.
To quantify people, yeah.
Yeah. So it leaves it open that way. I love Defoe in the movie. I love the kids in the movie. Defoe, for me, has never registered as strongly as he does here. And I absolutely think he deserves to win the Oscar. I don't think he will, but I think he'll be the runner-up. But the ending, the only other thing I need to say about it that to add on to what you said, the ending, I thought was perfect. A lot of people have problems with the ending. Why I think it's perfect is because I don't think it's meant to be taken literally. Because the tragedy of the movie is these kids exist in kind of the hopeless situation that they're in, and like children, they create their own fun, which I think is totally realistic. They're and they're in this situation, and they are literally a stone's throw away from a children's wonderland, but they can never get there. That's the tragedy of the movie. And so at the end, when they finally do, I think it's a flight of fancy. I don't think it's literal.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a coincidence that the one area of the film where there's score is that closing. I think that tells you right there, yes, this is imagination. And I think that makes it more heartbreaking. So it's an incredible movie. It really is. I love that movie, and I was awed by it.
Yeah, it is. It's a great movie. Absolutely devastating. Number 3 for me is my girl Greta Gerwig's movie Lady Bird, which we've talked about quite a bit on this show, but can I just say this is a perfect movie? To me, it just feels perfect. I could not find a flaw in this movie if I watched it 100 times. There's so much rich detail in everything in it. But key amongst everything is Gerwig's script, which is constantly funny, and her direction keeps things moving at a quick pace. Things never get dull or overworked in it. We're always moving on to the next thing, and it makes the movie fly by. It is so funny, feels so real to me. And again, another movie with a strong sense of place. Of course, Sacramento is her hometown, Gerwig's hometown, and you can sense her love for it, her renewed love for it, even though she was she escaped it and went to New York, as the character does in it. But again, another astounding ensemble. I mean, there's nobody bad in this movie. There every little character is superbly well drawn. It's a remarkable movie. I mean, it just is. It's got a beautiful look to it from Sam Levy's photography, and then that great John Bryan score, one of my favorites of the year. And of course, I got to go back to the performances. I mean, Saoirse Ronan, Beasley Feldstein, Laurie Metcalf as the mother, of course. Which I hope she comes out on top at the Oscars instead of Allison Janney, because as much as I appreciate Allison Janney's performance, and she did a fantastic job creating that Harridan in I, Tonya. I feel like that's more of a one-note performance, and I feel like Laurie Metcalf is just more grounded in reality.
She's very good. There's no doubt about that. No, every performance, as you said, is great. I mean,
Tracy
there's
Letts,
no doubt about that.
The depressed father who is forced to go out and look for jobs, being underlings to people who are half of his age. I thought that was, incredibly touching, and the father-daughter relationship in it is very, very sweet, and Lucas Hedges, he's so good in it.
That one scene,
that scene where he breaks down.
Yeah.
That's one of the most devastating scenes of the year, and it's such a great movie. I just can't get over it. How perfect it is. I'll definitely be watching this one again and again in coming years. I could easily see it being a comfort movie for me. But what can you say? It's brilliant. Sorry, people.
There's nothing to be sorry about. What is there to be sorry about?
Well, some people denigrate it because it's just a coming of age movie. It's just this.
But it's
just
her
that.
coming of age story, and it's told very well. Let's not forget Greta Gerwig. Really, no one wants to really say this. If there was no Greta Gerwig making those mumblecore movies, you would have no Lena Dunham. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, well, some people will blame her for that.
But I don't know. But I mean, Greta Gerwig is a lot more articulate, I think. I think Lady Bird does what girls wishes it could do. Could have done, okay?
I don't understand.
Say that now.
I don't understand the criticism movie to kind of minimalize it by saying coming of age. I mean, it is a coming of age movie, but aren't we all looking for a human experience? And isn't that something that every single person who's ever lived has experienced? Like, there's a moment when you come of age. Like, is it not like obtuse enough for you? So I don't know.
There's no pleasing some people. I mean, there's no pleasing some people. That's all you can say.
I think what happens at the end of the year is they're just when the Oscars come around, there tends to be a sort of a blood sport mentality to try and take certain titles down, to denigrate them.
Yeah.
Why can't we just enjoy them for what they are? You know.
Exactly.
That's what I want people to do, at least. But okay.
Okay, Jerry, your
number
two.
My number two, very quickly, is the Lost City of Z. That is my number two. I really, another movie I responded to earlier in the year. It just evokes a old-fashioned kind of movie making, a David Lean kind of aesthetic to it that I really appreciated. And we talked about this earlier in the year when it came out, so I don't want to take up any more time on it, but I just really felt very strongly about it. I still think about it quite a bit. And I just thought it was a very beautiful looking movie, but also just a very good movie about exploration, and also a very good movie just about movies and what movies should be about. I think sometimes just about exploring things. This was about an explorer and his son, and I just really, it was just the kind of movie you don't see anymore. Mm-hmm. That's what really took me about. That's if I wouldn't have seen anything. What we talked about when your friend was on the show when this came out, and the one where we couldn't hear your friend because he sounded like he was calling from like Zimbabwe or something.
Yeah.
But no, it was that. It was like the kind of movie. What I think this is the kind of movie you don't see much of anymore, or hardly at all. So I really appreciated that aspect of it. Really, it resonated with me very strongly. Not that Lady Bird and Phantom Thread did not resonate with me, but I think especially Phantom Thread, I just still processing, unfortunately. So I didn't know where to put it. That's my main thing with Phantom Thread. It's not. I loved everything about it. I just don't know where to put it right now. I would need to watch it again, but that's my number two, Lost City of Z.
Okay, I haven't seen it, so I have nothing to say about
it. Okay, that's fine. No, that's fine. That's fine. I just figure we're going through lightning round here, so.
Okay, my number two and my number one are interchangeable. So I mean, you can flip a coin with how much I liked both equally, but I have to make a decision. And so I always go for the feelies over the intellectual. So that determined the order. My number two is Phantom Thread. I think that it is such an incredible movie about the power dynamics of a relationship. Mm-hmm. It's one of those movies that's like a surgeon's precision on that topic. I like the world it's set in. It does transport you into a different world. And that's why you need an actor as committed as Daniel Day-Lewis, because you need to believe that person lives to make those dresses. And it's a perfect world for that character because he's in command. He knows exactly how to make things pretty. Everything fits in that world. Mm-hmm. And the relationships are completely different. And so I love the way that the power dynamics in it's another one of those things that are almost imperceptible. Like at some point in the movie, and we know when really, but the power is in her court, and she has his number. And I love the ending because upon reflection, what it tells me is he goes from woman to woman, and the act of like breaking up and then meeting someone else and starting another relationship, that's almost the act of being broken down and rebuilding yourself again. Mm-hmm. She knows that about him. She knows that she can fulfill that. So she can break him down and she can rebuild him again. That's the power that she has. And he never has to leave her because he can get that whole process from one person and kind of be re-energized. And so the ending made perfect sense to me, even though it was a complete surprise when it happened. The acting is just extraordinary. What I think a lot of people are going to miss is just how damn funny the movie is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
there are
It's
parts
hilarious.
of the movie that when he say it sounds like a horse running through here. But he's bothered by every single noise. And it's a fascinating character. And I think the more you watch the movie, the more you're going to pick up on little idiosyncratic behaviors that reveal more about the characters and what the movie is saying about relationships. It's such a tightly controlled movie because the movie is just like that lead character. But I think it's such a revelatory movie about relationships, and I can't wait to keep watching it.
I can't wait to watch it again.
I definitely want to watch it again. I mean, definitely.
I'm really looking forward to going back to the theater to check it out, which is always a good sign. I think it's true. What are you going to say? He's one of our greats. He's a treasure, and
he's not appreciated enough at all. I mean, I'm sorry. The lack of love this film is getting is bewildering to me. So.
I mean, luckily the National Society of Film Critics really responded to it and pretty much put it in the top 3 of almost every category. So, I just find that people are. I wonder if people are expecting something from Paul Thomas Anderson that they're not. Obviously, they're not. There's something that they're not getting.
Their
that they want.
Their last 2 movies, including this one, are very funny movies. This is a very funny movie. And that's what I like you said, that breakfast sequence where she's buttering the toast. You can't help but just burst out laughing. I mean, you're just like...
The use of sound.
I saw it in the theater with 3 other people. I was laughing out loud. And I don't know if the other 3 people in the theater knew what to take it for. It's like it's a really twisted Merchant Ivory movie. It's and you don't realize how twisted it is until it progresses.
Mm-hmm.
You think, oh, it's like you're really seeing like I said, like almost surgery, human nature and relationships and power dynamics. It's very precise in that, just like the lead character himself is. And then you realize what it's doing fully by the end of it. Or you don't. Like a lot of people don't get it. They think it comes out of left field. No, it doesn't. It's surprising, but it's completely consistent with a theme. So I was quite taken with it.
Yeah.
Okay, Dean, you're number 2.
My number 2 is Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk, which I revisited the other night, and I still find astounding and exciting. I really, really love the craft of it. Talk about a David Lean type movie. I mean, this is the definition of that, and I love its spare quality. I love the fact that a lot of people didn't respond to the fact that it doesn't have any real recognizable characters in it that we can really glom onto. But for me, it's a movie about the struggle of an entire nation. It's the struggle against an evil, an insurmountable evil. And we really should be on the side of everyone that we see struggling to survive in it, regardless of their own personal stories or whatever.
Right.
We're really all in this together. And I think that's what the movie is really about. But the work that went into this film to get this incredible conflict dramatized on screen is unbelievable. I mean, the work that they put into this. Beautiful editing. I like the Hans Zimmer score. I know it's wall to wall, and it's very grating. I wouldn't want to sit down and listen to the soundtrack, but as an effect in the movie, I think it's incredibly powerful. And just on a craft level alone, editing, sound, effects, invisible effects. By the way, I would say if there are any digital effects in this movie, I can't see them. They're completely obscured. It just really looks like it's happening in front of us. And I will say that the movie does improve with subtitles. I think that's a good thing. So when I watched it again, I had the subtitles on, and I find it quite moving. The whole thing with the father on the little boat, played by Mark Rylance, and his son and his son's friend, and oh God! I just by the end of the movie, when the son goes into to the newspaper office to memorialize his friend and give him the one great thing that he was able to accomplish in his life, even though it's not that great, really. It just shows, again, it illustrates the theme of the movie, which is we're all in it together. And I don't know, I really, as a big screen entertainment, I really, really loved it. Which is, I don't always respond that well to Christopher Nolan, but this one really did it for me. So that's my second movie of the best movie of the year, easily.
Okay.
All right. No, that's good.
Are we all up to number one now?
We're all up to number one.
All right, Jerry, you're number one.
My number one, I think, is very predictable. I just went with a movie that I've revisited constantly. And I went completely with genre this time. Logan. I had to pick Logan. I'm sorry. I responded to it more than I ever thought I would. It just took the comic book genre and took it to places where I think it finally needed to go. And it's just a great swan song for Hugh Jackman. And what I really like about the movie more than anything else, you don't have to see the previous films to appreciate this movie. I don't even think you need a passing knowledge of any previous X-Men films. It might help in some parts, but it's really just like we took Unforgiven and put it in the X-Men universe, but we did this as the old man Wolverine character, and it's just a very fitting swan song to the character. And I thought this year was a banner year for that type of movie. But especially this film did it best. And it's just very enjoyable. And I just had to give it recognition somewhere, and I just thought that was my favorite film of last year, of all those. I just thought, it's not only good performance from him. I think Patrick Stewart's very good. I think there are little sub-stories that are very good. I also like the way it plays with the X-Men myth, makes fun of it almost. There's one scene where he holds up all the comic books and he says, you do realize this is all fantasy. There's none of this stuff that happened. I thought that was a great little touch. But I also like James Mangold, great director, really good. We were talking about journeyman directors. He might fit that mold. Dean, he may very well fit that mold.
Yeah.
Talking about, something like 310 Yuma, Copland, obviously his first movie Heavy, which is very good. But he has managed. He found something here with the previous film, The Wolverine, but does it so much better here, I think, by getting out of the whole comic book mythology of it and just telling a really good story. And I just felt of a year where there have been other good films, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 or The Amazing Spider-Man, which I know Jamie responded to, or Spider-Man Homecoming. I just thought this did it best, and I just wanted to acknowledge it somewhere.
It was a good year for this genre, I think.
Yeah, really. It really was. Wonder Woman 2. We can't forget Wonder Woman. You have to put that in there, too.
Yeah. And even Thor Ragnarok, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, that's a fun movie. That's a fun movie, too. A lot of fun.
Yeah. So they're doing nice stuff with the genre, I think. It's good to see. For me, Logan is great up until about a certain point in it, and then when it goes into the kids at the end, I feel like I lose it a little. It loses me. But the first 2/3 of it, I thought were magnificent.
I think a common response I got to talking to people about it from lots of people, where was this movie the previous entries? Why couldn't we get a good movie like this the previous entries of this whole series? Why do we have to wait till the end to get to this? Because before we have the Bryan Singer X-Men Apocalypse, which is a chore to sit through. So it was really interesting that we have to wait till, and it's it took some of the stuff from the old.
It's also a benefit. It's also the benefit of the movie that it's not having to focus its attention on a dozen main characters.
Yeah, that's always a help, dude.
That is wonderful about it.
That is a great thing. That really is a really nice touch.
And by the way, Daphne King in it is fantastic.
See, I think so. See, you talk about that part, but I think the end, the eulogy she gives, where she's essentially reciting the last lines of Shane, which she watches with Patrick Stewart, which I thought was a little emotional scene, but where she basically recites the end of Shane as his eulogy, I thought was just really touching. I thought that was a great touch. But, yeah, no, I just wanted to put this in there somewhere. So that's my number one.
Okay. Well, that's an original list you got, Jerry. I mean, really, it is.
I don't know. I didn't want to tamper with it too much. I'd written it out a couple of days ago, and I just didn't want to tamper with it that much. So
no, it's a testament to how different we are, which is great.
Yeah.
If we all were on the same page about and I like to look, and I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It's absolutely not. But if we're all on the same page about everything.
Yeah.
That would be boring as anything. So
that's
great. Okay. My number one, I won't belabor it. Like I said, it could have easily been number 2 in Phantom Thread 1, but I always give the edge to the movies that give me the feelies, and that's my weakness. And but Lady Bird is absolutely it's not just
cool.
It's not a sentiment. It's the good type of sentiment in that it exists from a very informed place. From a place of an adult looking back at herself as a teenager and thinking, I didn't know everything. Why didn't I value that more? And being sentimental for that in a very smart kind of developed way, evolved way. I love the movie because it isn't smarmy. I love the movie because it's open-hearted and because it is very smart about human nature, about how a child sees their parents throughout the years, how they don't appreciate things and they come to appreciate them. It's wholly human and very, very smart about people, very compassionate. The parents, I expected that the parents would just be like in Juno, all the adults would be buffoons. But they won't. But they aren't. I mean, the Laurie Metcalf and Tracy Letts are just so wonderfully rendered, not only in performance but in the script. I love an open-hearted movie that's smart about human beings, and the Lady Bird was the best of that for me last year. So.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic. Well, number one, of course, is for me. Is Mother, Darren Aronofsky's amazing, one-of-a-kind film. There's nothing out there like it. There never will be. Sitting in that theater, watching that movie for the first time was one of the most unforgettable feelings I've ever had in a movie theater. Just a feeling of never knowing what was next. Really,
that's true. That's very true.
You're really just like, even in the first half of it, which is relatively, calm in comparison to what we get in the second half. Even in the first half of it, you're just like, wow, what is going on here? I think that this is a movie that can be read 1,000 different ways, which I love. And I guess I just responded to just the fact that it was, I've just never seen anything like it. I mean, the only thing that can come close is maybe something like, Exterminating Angel, the Buñuel film. But how long has it been since anybody referenced anything as crazy as that in a mainstream movie like this? I mean, we're talking, this was not a little art film. This is a big movie. I mean, it is massive. It's got incredible special effects, incredible makeup effects, incredible art direction, very, very athletic photography to it. It is a movie that comes from just the deepest visionary place. It's tough to watch parts of it.
But I think that's a compliment, though.
Yeah.
I think that's a praise. It's funny you bring up Exterminating Angel based on this movie. And we talked about, you were brought up when we talked about Exterminating Angel. I bought this in the last Criterion sale. I bought Exterminating Angel based on what you said and what he said about it, as it was an influence on the movie. So that just shows you the power of the movie, by the way. I thought I'd throw that in there. So.
But it is just utterly unlike anything I've ever seen, and I just had to give it to Aronofsky this year. I mean, he does not shy away from anything. He is definitely one of our bravest filmmakers. He's a deep thinker, and I think that this is in some ways a confessional movie, and I love that aspect of it too. Of course, I love to read it as an environmental screed. It definitely works that way. But what's amazing about the movie is it's kind of like a funhouse mirror of a movie. It's just right. It is constantly pulling the rug out from under you, and I know that's not what people go to the movies for. I guess sometimes these days, but they should be. Well, there should be room for us going to the movies and really getting shaken up. And
absolutely.
That's what this movie does. And I also think that this movie portrays the chaos of the world in a very, very palpable sense. The chaos of an unmanageable world. Mm-hmm. If you were going to sit down with a bunch of executives and say, "Yeah, I want to make a movie about the chaos of the unmanageable chaos of the world," do you think that
they're not going to go for it? They're not.
I don't think they're going to. Most of the time, they're going to respond to you unless they know you have the goods.
That's the problem. But if you sell it like that, I actually, and I don't believe, there's a level of misogyny in the film that I thought that resonated with what happened over the years. There's a level of misogyny in the movie that it's just unmistakable. That there's a level of, towards her especially, towards Jennifer Lawrence, that I felt that was there. That you could read it as a very misogynistic, not as that Darren Aronofsky's misogynistic, but the world that we live in is incredibly misogynistic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously she gets beat up quite a bit in it.
Yeah.
And it's but she wants to impose order on things that are getting out of order.
Right.
And that's where the blowback comes for her. She wants to contain the worst nature of the other humans who are invading this thing. By the way, it's a great it's a horror movie for introverts. You know, I mean, which I think is a great. You know, I think that's where it has a lot in common with things like with filmmakers like Roman Polanski. To have your space being invaded is horrifying to some people. I'm definitely one of those people. And in fact, it shares some elements with Phantom Thread in that regard.
Yeah, they
too.
take place in a lot of the ways inside. Yeah, seeing there are. Yes, definitely that. I mean, his world is, you know, he wants order, and you know, he can't get it all the time. I mean, no doubt.
Yeah. But Mother will just always be, you know, it might not be a movie that I'll want to pop in for just anybody or whatever. You'd have to be a very special person to sit down and watch this movie with me. But it's definitely the most memorable time I've had at the movie theater this year. So for me, it had to be number one. It's just I wish. I wish the whole world could embrace it more. But I believe that this will be considered one of the great movies in a decade. People will
think so, yeah.
In 10 years, there will be articles written about how do we miss Mother as a movie that summed up the culture better than any.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I believe that. I definitely believe that.
Yeah, for sure. So I definitely want to be on top of that. But other movies that didn't make my list, I love love Brawlin', Cell Block 99. That would be number 11 for me. Then The Square from Sweden, Loveless from Russia, Obit, the documentary about the New York Times Obit writers. 3 Billboards, Maudie, Get Out, Lucky, and Lucky is so amazing with that great Harry Dean Stanton performance, and Voyeur, the documentary, and Crown Heights. And it was a very rich year. I could go on to 5 more.
Yeah,
the death of Louis XIV. That great movie from France by Albert Serra is fantastic.
Yeah,
with Jean-Pierre Léaud as Louis XIV on his deathbed throughout the entire movie. The Big Sick.
That's another one. Yeah, that's a great one. The Big Sick. I mean, definitely.
Menage. I don't know if many people have seen that, but the movie that takes place in the Hasidic community in New York City. Great character study. Victoria and Abdul, and I like a little film called Mr. Roosevelt by Noel Wells. I
watched that last week on your recommendation. It was very good.
It was funny, wasn't it?
Yeah, very funny. I mean, when you realize that you're like her cat, you're just like, oh. I mean, you're just like, but no, I thought it was a great vehicle for her. What we know about her, for her, I thought it was like, we talk about an artist putting all their heart into the movie, and she put everything she had, given what we know about her as a performer.
Mm-hmm.
I felt she was like putting, it is a flip side to Lady Bird in many ways, a different kind of, but a very personal movie, obviously, to Noah Wells. I would have to add, hovering outside Phantom Thread would be like 11, and Lady Bird, and obviously 3 Billboards. I want to also add another. Patty Cakes was a movie I really liked a lot, as was Ingrid Goes West for some other movies that really I responded to last year.
Yeah, nice strong
for me, it's
characters in both of those.
Blade of the Immortal, which is just a great Kick-Ass Samurai movie,
Yeah.
and Eagles of Death Metal, which was probably the most moving documentary I saw last year. And then what's it? The My Happy Family, which is it's a foreign film about a Georgian family, and I'm talking about Georgia, not the state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I know.
You know, the like many families in that region, all the families in there, the grown-up children, their girlfriends, their wives, the husband, the mother, everyone, and a mother that feels like she did her job, she raised her kids. They don't want to leave the house, but she wants to know what life is like on her own. So she gets her own place. I thought it was really a special movie. So yeah, it's been the one movie I didn't get to see that I most wanted to was Loveless. I just could not find it, so I wasn't able to see it. But it's a good movie for movies from all over the world. It was a good movie.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Definitely.
A lot of stuff to like, and a lot of great television. A ridiculous amount of great television this year. Of course, a lot of people including Twin Peaks into their top 10 list. I don't want to go that far, but it was certainly
that was one of the joys of the year. And I'm not talking about the entire run. I'm talking about watching that first episode and coming to the realization it actually is a real thing.
It's happening.
Twin Peaks is back on TV.
Yeah.
That was one of the joys of last year for me. Yeah.
And there's nothing like that eighth. There's nothing like that 8th episode. Boy, that was some.
Yeah. Can I add one more movie that we didn't talk? Just Brigsby Bear with Mark Hamill and Kyle Mooney. That was a cute little movie. We mentioned the Mark Hamill movie, and it's not Star Wars. Yes. But it was a very good indie movie. We're talking about indie movies, and it was just good. With a good vehicle for Kyle Mooney, I thought, from Saturday Night Live. So that was another one that was under the radar that I thought was very good.
Yeah. So it was a good year.
Next week,
maybe that's
Oscar
what
predictions.
We'll close the show on Frank Sinatra singing. It was a very good year. Let's do it. That's fun. Or we could close the show on William Shatner singing "It Was a Very Good Year."
Let's do that.
We might not get sued for that, though.
From The Transformed Man, one of my favorite albums. All right.